The first thing Rachel ever warned me about wasn't her trauma or her scars or the way certain noises made her flinch before she could stop herself. It was her brothers. "There are 3 of them," she said on our 3rd date, stirred her coffee like it had personally offended her. "They're not normal about me." That word carried weight. Normal was the absence she lived around. I laughed then. People always laugh when they don't know they're standing at the edge of something with teeth. I said something stupid, like how bad can it be? And she winced the way someone does when they hear glass sliding toward the edge of a table. I found out the following Friday. I pulled up to her childhood home 10 minutes early because I'd been raised to believe punctuality was the first sign of respect. The house itself was ordinary in that aggressively suburban way. Trimmed hedges, white siding, a flag mounted too close to the door. The porch light flicked on before I'd even cut the engine. The door opened. Her oldest brother filled the frame. He was built like a man who had never lost an argument with gravity. Broad shoulders, solid stance, eyes that took inventory before they acknowledged existence. He held a baseball bat vertically in front of him, hands resting on the handle like he was about to step into a batter's box. He didn't raise it. He didn't need to. Behind him stood the middle brother, cracking his knuckles one by one with methodical patience, like he'd rehearsed a rhythm. Further back, half in shadow, the youngest leaned against the wall. Phone already up, camera lens trained on me. No one spoke. I stepped out of the car slowly, hands visible, every instinct screaming that this was either a joke in very poor taste or the opening scene of a documentary that ended with my face blurred. "Hi," I said, because I am nothing if not committed to politeness. The oldest brother tilted his head a fraction. "You're early." "Yes, sir." That earned me a glance from the middle brother. He stopped cracking his knuckles. Rachel appeared behind them then, pushing past with an expression that lived somewhere between fury and mortification. "Oh my God, I told you to stop doing this." The oldest didn't take his eyes off me. His mouth moved just barely. "We're watching you." Rachel grabbed my hand and pulled me down the steps. As we walked toward my car, the youngest snapped another photo. "Flash on." "They're ridiculous," she muttered, already apologizing. "They're thorough," I said. She looked at me like she was trying to decide whether to warn me again or run. I should have run. Instead, I opened her door and buckled her seatbelt like this was the most normal start to a date imaginable. The surveillance began immediately. Every restaurant we went to, one of them was already there, not discreetly, not cleverly. The oldest liked to sit at the bar facing us, pretending to watch whatever game was on while his eyes reflected off the mirror behind the bottles. The middle brother favored booths with clear sight lines, menus held upside down, occasionally lowering them just long enough to make eye contact. The youngest floated. He'd pass by our table, drop his phone, bend down to retrieve it while filming, then whisper into it like he was narrating wildlife footage. Rachel tried to laugh it off. I let her. On our 3rd date, the youngest stopped pretending. He pulled out a chair and sat at our table without asking. "So," he said, elbows on the table, voice calm, eyes sharp. "What exactly are your intentions with our sister?" Rachel opened her mouth. I raised my hand slightly. "My intention," I said, meeting his stare, "is to never give you a reason to ask that question again." He blinked. Once. Twice. Then he smiled, but it wasn't friendly. It was evaluative. "Good answer," he said, and stood up. "We got shovels, by the way. And land." Rachel kicked his chair as he walked away. "I'm so sorry," she said. I took her hand. "I'd be worried if they weren't like this." That was true. I just hadn't realized how far this extended. The background check came next. I found it tucked under my windshield wiper after work, stapled, annotated, and highlighted. Old addresses. Employment history. A speeding ticket, circled in red with the words pattern, written beside it like a pop quiz. I laughed out loud in the parking lot. I texted Rachel a photo of it with the caption, "Your brothers need a hobby." She responded with a skull emoji, and they really don't. The fake Instagram profile appeared 2 days later. Jessica. Soft lighting. Strategic angles. Messages that tried too hard to be casual. She asked questions that were just slightly off, nudging, probing. I screenshotted everything and sent it to Rachel with a note. Tell your brother that Jessica types exactly like he argues. It's a dead giveaway. That night, the middle brother blocked me. The next day, he unblocked me. Progress. When they followed us to the movies, I bought popcorn for all of us. I didn't confront them. I didn't glare. I handed the usher 4 tubs and asked him to deliver them to the seats directly behind ours. I included a note. Next time, just join us. Rachel covered her mouth, laughing so hard her shoulders shook. Behind us, someone snorted. After that, I started leaving coffee gift cards on their trucks whenever I spotted them tailing us. Short notes. Casual handwriting. Stalking must be exhausting. Caffeine is cheaper than bail. The youngest posted a photo of his coffee cup with no caption. The real shift didn't come from any of that. It came from their mother. Rachel warned me they'd give me the wrong time for her birthday dinner. She suggested I show up late, or not at all. I showed up early, 3 hours early. I brought flowers. I brought wine. I rolled up my sleeves and helped cook, while their mother told me stories about raising 4 children with too much energy and not enough patience. By the time the brothers arrived, I was wearing her apron and knew about the oldest brother crying to Lion King when Mufasa died. He pulled me aside later, eyes narrow, voice low. That was sneaky as hell, he said. I smiled. He almost did too. And that was when I realized something important. They weren't trying to scare me away. They were trying to see how long I'd stay standing. After the birthday dinner, the rules changed without being announced. Before, the brothers had treated me like a suspicious package left unattended. Now they treated me like something fragile they weren't sure how to handle without breaking. They stopped following us everywhere. That was worse. The oldest brother started calling me directly, never for anything important, never with explanation. You busy, he'd ask. No. Good. Be at my place in 20. The first time, I showed up expecting a lecture or a fight or at least another background check printed in larger font. Instead, he handed me a pair of gloves and pointed at a heavy bag hanging in his garage. Hit it. I blinked. Why? Because if you're going to stand in front of danger, he said, you should know what it feels like to hit back. He didn't smile. He didn't threaten. He just watched. I hit the bag, awkwardly at first. Too stiff. Too cautious. He corrected my stance without touching me, barked instructions like muscle memory lived in his voice. When my arm started shaking, he nodded once. Enough. On the drive home, my knuckles aching, I realized he hadn't asked me a single question about Rachel. He'd been watching how I handle frustration. The middle brother's tests were quieter. He invited me to help him fix his car one Saturday. No Rachel. No warning. 3 hours under the hood. Hands greasy. Conversation sparse. Then, like he'd been waiting for my guard to drop, he said, you know, Jeff didn't start by hitting her. I froze. He isolated her first. He continued, not looking at me. Made her doubt herself. Apologized for things she didn't do. If you ever see that pattern, even a hint of it, you stop it. You don't explain it away. I swallowed. I know. He finally looked at me then. Knowing isn't the same as noticing. That stuck with me. The youngest brother surprised me most. He started sending me videos. Dumb ones. Dogs falling off couches. People tripping over nothing. Then, slowly, articles mixed in. Trauma recovery. PTSD triggers. The long tail of violence. No commentary. Just links. The message was clear. If you're staying, you're learning. Rachel noticed the shift too. They're being weird, she said one night, curled against me on the couch. Not bad weird. Just intense quiet. They're trying to trust me, I said. She was silent for a long time. That scares me more than when they hated you, she admitted. I kissed her hair. Me too. The question finally came 2 months in. The middle brother asked it over cheap beer, sitting on the back steps of their childhood home. Cicadas screaming in the dark. Why haven't you given up yet? He asked. We've broken 7 guys before you. I didn't answer right away. I thought about the nights Rachel woke up gasping, hands clutching at nothing, about the way she apologized when she flinched, about how she checked locks twice, then a third time just to be sure. Because she's worth it, I said. Whatever this is, whatever you need to do to sleep at night. He nodded slowly. Good, he said, because this is the easy part. The real test came at her company holiday party. I stepped outside for air and found all three brothers waiting by my car, faces tight, posture rigid. The oldest stepped forward. She's getting attached, he said. We need to know if you're going to hurt her. Before I could answer, Rachel screamed. Jeff stood at the edge of the parking garage, blocking her path, smiling like he owned the space between them. I didn't think. I moved. I put myself between them, heart hammering so loud it drowned out everything else. Who's this clown? Jeff laughed. I said, someone who's not afraid of you. I was terrified. When he swung, I didn't dodge. I took the hit and stayed standing. The brothers moved then, all at once, dragging him down while I held Rachel behind me, blood dripping from my nose, hands shaking, refusing to step aside until the cops arrived. After that night, the world rearranged itself. The brothers didn't test me anymore. They trained me. After Jeff was taken away, nobody spoke for a long time. Rachel sat on the curb, knees pulled to her chest, staring at nothing. I crouched in front of her, blocking the world by instinct now, blood crusting under my nose, hands still shaking. One of her brothers handed me a wad of napkins without a word. Another draped his jacket over Rachel's shoulders. The youngest stood a few steps back, phone forgotten in his pocket for the first time since I'd known him. When the police lights faded, the oldest brother looked at me like he was seeing me clearly for the first time. You didn't back up, he said. It wasn't praise. It was recognition. Something closed behind me that night. A gate, a perimeter I hadn't known I was still outside of. They didn't apologize. That would have cheapened it. Instead, they adjusted. The oldest started inviting me over to watch fights. We'd sit in silence most of the time, the TV glow reflecting off half-healed bruises on his knuckles. Between rounds, he'd pause the screen and reposition my hands, my feet, correcting angles with the seriousness of someone teaching a life skill, not a hobby. You've got heart, he said once. Heart gets you hurt if you don't back it up with control. The middle brother took over my weekends. My car broke down in a grocery store parking lot, and before I could even call a tow, he showed up with tools and a resigned sigh like this was inevitable. 3 hours later, greasy and exhausted, he leaned against the hood and said, Jeff always waited for moments when she thought she was safe. I listened. I listened like my future depended on it. The youngest changed the most. He stopped testing me. He started sharing responsibility. He looped me into group chats about Rachel's birthday plans, sent me reminders, trusted me with tasks that required follow-through instead of reaction. When he handed me the cake pickup assignment, he said, Don't screw this up. I didn't. Rachel noticed the difference before I did. They don't watch you anymore, she said one night. Sure they do. She shook her head. Not like before. They relax around you. That word caught in her throat. She started sleeping better. Started laughing louder. Started reaching for my hand in public, without checking the room first. Healing didn't arrive like a sunrise. It crept in sideways, quiet and uneven. When I decided to ask her to move in with me, I told her brothers first. Not permission. Respect. We sat around their mother's kitchen table, coffee cooling between us. I'm asking her, I said. I want you to hear from me. The oldest leaned back, arms crossed. The middle brother studied my face. The youngest smiled like he already knew. About damn time, the oldest said finally, Mom already thinks you're her fourth kid. I exhaled without realizing I'd been holding my breath. The night Rachel moved in, her brothers showed up unannounced. They didn't hover, didn't inspect. They helped carry boxes, hung shelves, fixed a door that stuck. Before they left, the oldest clapped a hand on my shoulder, heavy and steady. You stand guard, he said. So do we. Same team now. When the door closed behind them, Rachel wrapped her arms around me and whispered, You didn't just date me. You married the family, I said. She laughed. Then she cried. Then she slept. Later that night, I stood by the window, watching the street. Not because I was afraid, because standing guard had become a choice. And I was grateful they'd taught me how. Time did what always does when people finally stop fighting it. It moved forward, not in leaps, in inches. Rachel didn't wake up healed one morning. There were still nights she startled awake, moments when Ray's voices in a restaurant made her shoulders tense, days when she needed space she couldn't explain. But now, when those moments came, she didn't apologize. She trusted the room. And slowly, the room proved worthy of that trust. The brothers stayed present, but not intrusive. The oldest stopped teaching me how to throw a punch and started teaching me when not to. He talked more now, less guarded, stories slipping out between silences. He admitted once that he'd spent years feeling like if he loosened his grip, something terrible would slip through his fingers again. The middle brother softened in ways I didn't expect. He stopped talking only in facts and patterns and started asking questions that didn't have obvious answers. Sometimes he'd sit with Rachel on the porch, both of them quiet, just sharing air. The youngest grew up right in front of me. He still joked, still teased, but he stopped hiding behind humor. He checked in, really checked in, and he trusted me to answer honestly. One evening, months later, the oldest handed me a set of keys. I stared at them. "What's this?" "House key," he said. "Emergency only." I understood what that meant. Your family now. The moment it truly landed wasn't dramatic. It was a random Tuesday. Rachel was at work. I was fixing a loose cabinet hinge when her mom called. "Can you come by?" she asked. "I need help with something." I didn't hesitate. When I arrived, the brothers were already there. No tension, no tests, just familiarity. We worked, ate, laughed. At one point, I caught my reflection in the microwave door. Sleeves rolled up, someone's apron around my waist. A life in progress. It struck me then. No one was watching me anymore. Not because they'd stopped caring, because they trusted me to watch when it mattered. Later that night, Rachel curled against me and said, "You know they'd do anything for you now." I nodded. "I know. And you'd do anything for them." "Yes." She smiled. I soughed. That's how it's supposed to work. Sometimes, when I lock up at night, I think about that first evening. The bat, the knuckles, the phone camera. I think about how close I came to walking away. And I'm grateful I didn't, because the people who protect hardest love hardest too. They just need to know you won't disappear when things get heavy. So I stand watch, not because I'm afraid, but because I belong. Time did what always does when people finally stop fighting it. It moved forward, not in leaps, in inches. Rachel didn't wake up healed one morning. There were still nights she startled awake, moments when Ray's voices in a restaurant made her shoulders tense, days when she needed space she couldn't explain. But now, when those moments came, she didn't apologize. She trusted the room. And slowly, the room proved worthy of that trust. The brothers stayed present, but not intrusive. The oldest stopped teaching me how to throw a punch and started teaching me when not to. He talked more now, less guarded, stories slipping out between silences. He admitted once that he'd spent years feeling like if he loosened his grip, something terrible would slip through his fingers again. The middle brother softened in ways I didn't expect. He stopped talking only in facts and patterns and started asking questions that didn't have obvious answers. Sometimes he'd sit with Rachel on the porch, both of them quiet, just sharing air. The youngest grew up right in front of me. He still joked, still teased, but he stopped hiding behind humor. He checked in, really checked in, and he trusted me to answer honestly. One evening, months later, the oldest handed me a set of keys. I stared at them. "What's this?" "House key," he said. "Emergency only." I understood what that meant. Your family now. The moment it truly landed wasn't dramatic. It was a random Tuesday. Rachel was at work. I was fixing a loose cabinet hinge when her mom called. "Can you come by?" she asked. "I need help with something." I didn't hesitate. When I arrived, The brothers were already there. No tension, no tests, just familiarity. We worked, ate, laughed. At one point, I caught my reflection in the microwave door. Sleeves rolled up. Someone's apron around my waist. A life in progress. It struck me then. No one was watching me anymore. Not because they'd stopped caring. Because they trusted me to watch when it mattered. Later that night, Rachel curled against me and said, "You know they'd do anything for you now." I nodded. "I know. And you'd do anything for them." "Yes." She smiled. I soughed. That's how it's supposed to work. Sometimes, when I lock up at night, I think about that first evening. The bat, the knuckles, the phone camera. I think about how close I came to walking away. And I'm grateful I didn't, because the people who protect hardest love hardest too. They just need to know you won't disappear when things get heavy. So I stand watch, not because I'm afraid, but because I belong.